Thank you so much for staying with us on the SportsMax Zone. We begin with exciting news from track and field. Mommy Rocket, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce made her long-awaited 100-meter season debut, scorching to 10.82 seconds to secure victory at the World Athletics Continental Tour Silver Meeting in Lucerne, Switzerland. The 36-year-old ran an especially impressive last half of the race, finishing well clear of New Zealand's Zoe Hobbs, who clocked 11.08, and Kennedy Blackman of the USA, who ended third in 11.11. The performance has catapulted Fraser-Pryce to fourth on the 2023 list of fastest women. Only fellow Jamaican Sharika Jackson, 10.65, American Shakira Richardson, 10.71, and Ivorian Marie-José Talu at 10.75 have run faster. The St. Lucian Julian Alfred, fifth fastest at 10.83. Our in-house track and field analyst, senior writer at SportsMax.tv, Leighton Levy, has been quite excited for Fraser-Pryce's season opener at 100 meters, and he joins us to dissect today's performance. Leighton, how are you? You're always in a good mood. I like when you're here.
But you make it look like some bigger spot for the zone.
No, I said you were excited about Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce's opener, not excited to be here, which I know you are.
There's a difference.
I'll give you that one. Yeah, but it was a good. Look, having not run 100 all year, in fact, since last year, I thought what we saw from Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce today suggests that she is as fast as she was last year when she ran 7 times under 10.7. Because when you watch the race, you'll realize that her start was nowhere where it usually is. And I suspect, Ricardo, that it might have been deliberate because given the knee issues that she had earlier this season, maybe it's a precaution to ensure that she doesn't put too much pressure on it while she continues to recover, because I suspect that that injury is not an injury that's going to go away just like that. It might be a lot better now, more manageable, but certainly it's a situation where I think and given the field as well, given that she knew that she had this field covered, she took the opportunity to just come out of the blocks and then pick up at a remarkable pace and then blow the field away. I think she'll be very encouraged by the performance today.
Yeah, you know, I ran a little poll in our department just before the race because I wanted to see what individuals were thinking in terms of what she would produce. The slowest given, 10.89, that incidentally was by Mariah. The fastest given in terms of the expectation, 10.69. And most of the times would have been between 10.69 and 10.80, which means that there was some amount of
expectation. Yes,
coming into this race. What were you expecting?
I had a conversation with a friend of mine who we talk track and field every day, virtually, and I had suggested 10.76 because why 76 and not 60 something as what we saw last year was that for the very reason I mentioned at the top, where she hasn't run 100 for so long. Couple of 200s at the national championships. But when I watched how she came from the blocks and really blazed that curve, I thought that on a straight, given the issues that she had with her knee, and given that she was literally rust running 100, I think 10.7, somewhere mid 10.7s would be right in that ballpark of where she'll be performing. And 10.82, given the start that we saw from her today, she was well within that range. So I think everybody's happy seeing what she did today.
Yeah, I looked at her body language after and she looked genuinely happy. If we go back to the post-race celebration that we had, you saw genuine satisfaction from Shelly-Ann Fraser, and I am very happy about that because it means that even though the time wasn't sensational, given her proliferation of sub-10.7 clockings last year, she knows where she's at, and she is very, very happy. You can see the delight on her face. That's unmistakable. She's happy with the performance.
And I mean, she opened with 10.67 last year in Nairobi, Kenya. Yes. So a lot of people are probably thinking this is going to probably do the same again, but the circumstances have changed. Very late start to the 100-meter season. Knee injury that kept her out for, 2-3 months before without any competition whatsoever. Yeah. So, given what we saw from her today, and the last half of that race was phenomenal.
I thought so.
She was tall, she was relaxed, she was turning over at this rate of knots, I think, there is nothing to be unhappy about. I think she would go back into camp with Coach Ronaldo Walcott thinking, I'm on track to defend my title in Budapest.
In racing sports, Lance, you have a thing saying that in horse racing, I hear it a lot, that the horse won going away.
Yes.
That's what we saw from Shelly today,
without
wasn't
question, yeah. And that is where Leighton is making the point that the second half of the race was so impressive because she was accelerating rapidly away from her rivals, which is a good sign given the fact that she didn't get that typically brilliant fast bullet start that she's accustomed to.
I think she probably lost a full tenth of a second with that start today.
Yes.
And so that would probably put her about 10.72 in that region. And I think what we saw from her indicates that her speed endurance is where it was last year, if not better, which is also an ominous sign for those planning to upset her in the World Championships, because the key thing for her is to maintain that speed once she hits 60. And what we saw today suggests that she's well within that range right now to maintain that speed for as long as she can.
Talk to us briefly, Leighton, about the knee injury, because most sprinters would be bothered by muscle injuries. I don't think it's common for knee injuries to be affecting sprinters. So I'm not sure how she got the injury in the first place. But how much of a setback is that for her? Because, as I said, it is not the norm to hear sprinters being bothered by knee injuries.
Well, there are several types of knee injuries, but what we do know from knee injuries, and you play football, so you should know this, if you hurt your knee, all the force of your body goes through those joints.
Yes.
So if you're unable to push out of the blocks, for example, which all sprinters have to do, you have to get maximum force coming out of those blocks. If you have an injured knee or a knee that is not 100% solid, you're going to have trouble. And then also, while you're sprinting, you're not going to be able to generate as much force because all that force goes through those joints from your ankle right through your knees. And of course, then you're unable to propel forward because the knee is compromised. So, based on what my understanding of the knee injury is that, to the point where she was unable to compete and she had treatment in Italy for a while, it suggests that the knee injury was bad enough for her to say, let's take a precaution and not put too much pressure on it. And look, she's 15 years of high-level competition. There's wear and tear on your body. So these are some of the injuries that will happen. Not necessarily muscular if you take care of yourself properly, but joint injuries are not uncommon.
Well, really fabulous for her that she looked as good as she did today, because I remember maybe 8 years or so ago she had a toe injury, which was also
sesamoiditis,
really inhibiting, especially for the start, because with her toe being sore, she couldn't push off, and that was a period in her career where she didn't have much success because of that.
Yeah, she finished third at the Olympics in Rio, because your toe is the anchor of your foot.
That's right.
And you can't push from the blocks as forcefully as you want. And she aggravated that injury in the semifinal, which I think saw her break down in tears, after the semifinals, if I remember correctly. So, these are the kind of injuries that will happen when look, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce has been running fast consistently for 15 years. Except for the year 2011 when she had surgery just before the World Championship.
And she still ran fast because she still went sub-11.
Yeah, she ran 10.99 in the final, which was her season best that year.
Yes.
And of course, 2017 when she was pregnant, and 2018 coming back. But every year she's run 10.7. She's run under 11 seconds 78 times. Yeah. And under 10.7, I think something like 12 times now. So she's put
more than 12.
Under 12.7.
Under 10.7,
yeah.
7 and 3, 10 times, I think. So you're looking at a situation where she has competed at the very highest level for more than a decade. Her body and she's not the youngest person.
Well, at the top of the show, I called her the GOAT, and I'm not taking it back.
And similarly me, and there are a lot of people who talk about this ridiculous thing about Flojo, who had half a good season and tell me that she's the greatest. That's the greatest rubbish I've ever heard in my entire life. She's not even in my top 10. Yeah, she has a world record, but we all know that those records are suspect. And until somebody can come out of somewhere, maybe heaven, and tell me that those times are legitimate, I will not believe them. Anyway, going back to the original point. The reality is that, she has had a lot of wear and tear on her body. So I think she has to be careful, in terms of managing those situations going forward.
Yeah, 30 days to the World Championships. How much racing do you expect her to do between now and then?
Well, at the trial, she told me that she had 2 races between now and Budapest. She needs to be race sharp. So I think she runs one other race And then she goes into Budapest. She has then the 2 rounds, the first round, the semifinals, and then she'll be ready for the final. We know that when Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce goes to these things, she's ready to compete. So I suspect that one other race, given the 2 races that she ran at national championships, this race, so that's 3. One other race I think would put her right within race I think she wants, that she can get the additional sharpness from the first 2 rounds of the World Championships.
All right, let's get you up to speed with what else happened at the Luzerne meet in Switzerland today. 3 other victories for Caribbean athletes. In fact, all Jamaicans. Julian Fort ran a season's best 9.99 seconds to take the men's 100 meters, defeating national champion Rohan Watson, who crossed the line second in 10.03. This was Fort's first sub-10 performance since his personal best 9.91 in July 2017. The much talked about Rasheen McDonald secured victory in the men's 400 meters. The 30-year-old clocking 44.80, his third sub-45 performance in 7 days to secure the win. Botswana's Colin Kebinat-Chipi 45.15 and Germany's Manuel Sanders 45.28 finished second and third respectively. Jamaica secured the top 2 places in the men's sprint hurdles. Tyler Mason winning in 13.19 ahead of Budapest-bound Orlando Bennett 13.22. Eric Edwards of the USA ended third in 13.24 seconds. Leighton, here's where I want to go with this one. A sub-10 performance by Julian Fort to follow up a 10:01 performance from Johan Blake. 2 men who will not be in Jamaica's, well, not expected to be based on what happened at the trials in Jamaica's relay pool. The Jamaican men's 4x1 team has not won a global medal since the Olympic Games in Rio. Given what you have seen this year and the pool of athletes they have and what else is around the world, do you think this is the year that they change that at the World Championship?
They very well could be. When you look at the pool of Blake Seville, Blake, the 2 Blakes, well, let's say Akeem Blake first of all, Rowan Watson, Ryan Ford, Kadrian Golson, there's a nice pool of guys who have gone under 10 seconds this year. That's the first time in a long time that Jamaica's had so many youngsters under 10 seconds. Should Fort and Blake be in there? I still think they should be a part of the pool because, had it not been for the false start, we might have seen that a national championship from Julian Fort. The thing is, when you look at the rest of the field, outside of the Americans, the rest of the world is not that impressive. They may have 1 or 2 sprinters, but not a full squad of sprinters who should be able to challenge Jamaica. And once we get the stick around and get some useful practice in, I don't see any reason why Jamaica should not be on the podium this time around because to make a quick check, other than John Hughes and Reese Prescott and Jeremiah Azu, Great Britain doesn't have that kind of depth. Japan, who are usually a perennial contender, 3 guys are running about between 10-1 and 10-03.
But they are super with the baton,
They're excellent with the baton changes. And of course, Canada, DeGrasse and Brendan Rodney, they are not as deep as we expect them to be over there.
Aaron Brown as well, but not in the type of form we've seen them in previous
season
years.
Long. So I think if the Jamaicans can get some good stick practice in, I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be on the podium.
We have to move along quickly. Is there anything you want to say about Rasheen McDonald?
I think I've said it up already. but he's demonstrating, when I said it, when we were on here, when was it? A couple of days ago.
Tuesday, yeah.
I did say that this year he's demonstrated that this is probably the most consistent he has been, period.
Yes, it is.
Right? So he is currently our best 400-meter runner outside the national champion and, of course, the second place finisher. 44.03, 44.8 today, complete command of the race, right up to 3:50 when he started to lose some momentum. But that, I think, is a factor of the fatigue from the 44.3 on Sunday. So, there's a lot of argument to and fro, but,
I'm not taking you on that today, just because we're running out of time. Elsewhere on Thursday, British Virgin Islands star Karen McMaster stormed to a season's best of 47.26 seconds to set a meet record over 400-meter hurdles at the World Athletics Continental Tour Silver meeting in Slovakia. The performance takes McMaster to number 3 in the world this year, behind history's 2 fastest men, Karsten Warholm of Norway and Rai Benjamin of the USA. Leighton Levy, can Kyron McMaster finally get it right at a global event? We have seen him false start, we have seen him get disqualified, we've seen him get injured at these global events, twice a Commonwealth Games champion. Can he land a medal for the BVN? Is he getting it right at the right time with 30 days to go to the big one?
Listen, all my toes, you could see them, they're crossed, and all my fingers are crossed. This is a kid who, we know his story, lost his coach in a hurricane back in 2017, went to Lennox Graham, and he's had good seasons, but mainly injury-plagued, mishaps. 47.26 is a really, really fast time. And that puts him right in the hunt this year. And I think if he can just manage to stay healthy and manage not to hit a hurdle or have any kind of weird mishap, I think he's in the hunt.
Yeah.
And 47.26 suggests that he could possibly go faster because, as we know, I'm sure Lennox has him primed now to be running that time consistently or even faster going into the World Championships a month away.
Yeah, Karsten Varholm, who is the world record holder and world leader, Rai Benjamin, who is second fastest from the USA. Alison Dos Santos, who is the reigning world champion, is back and ran an impressive 44.7 in the flat 400. So looking at that, it's going to be tough, but this young man definitely has the quality to go on and win a medal. Leighton Levy, thanks very much for joining us on the SportsMax Zone. It is a pleasure as usual, just as much of a pleasure as it is for Lance Whitaker to talk about horse racing, and he's happier than anyone that is going to be back at Caymanas Park on Saturday.